Alright, in the bottom left, as the red Terran, he is GuMiho. In the top right, as the blue Terran, he's Elevate's MaSa. TvT on the North American Central server is the midpoint, but should be going better for MaSa. So a little bit. The GuMiho is just such a boss that I think he'll win this 3-1. I'm gonna throw that out there, but we've seen a lot of 3-0s. Who knows? MaSa, like, you know, said in the last series, and he's on, but sometimes he'll falter and then not be able to recover, so. It's like he's a really great walk, like really confident and whatnot, and then he trips over something and he just actually doesn't stop tripping. It just turns into like a goof afterwards. Or some type of analogy like that. I have great analogies. Don't tell me otherwise. I know a lot of people are interested in what happened yesterday, I believe it was, with Firecake and, oh, actually, Gaslight Expand. And how little information there has been about it. So we did talk about it yesterday, that we were just not paying attention to it while we were casting, or trying to focus on the cast, and we'll deal with it later, etc., etc. The decision was made last night. All of us got together and thought about it and talked about it. And I'm gonna hold you guys in suspense like a really good TV soap opera or something, and say that at the end of the cast, I will try and remember to tell you all what the announcement is. Of course, we were going to announce it before this tournament today started, this group today started, but with Rifkin's power outage and me panicking about the players not being here, it wasn't really supposed to happen. There should also be a response about it, either on Twitter or on Team Liquid sometime in the future as well. So you have more, I guess, concrete details other than what I will be saying later on in this cast, at the end of it. So there you go. Tell your friends. That's the most exciting thing about this. No, it's not. The most exciting thing is that it's been some just good StarCraft. TvT, of course, a fun matchup, especially if you're Terran. I personally love tank backdrops, so it's also helpful if you love those. So, go me! I'm having fun. You know, while also losing my voice. I'm actually pretty sure I sound different. I haven't been checking chat enough to see whoever's been like, you know, why does she sound weird? But I'm sure someone's noticed. This Reaper's doing something very odd. Why are you just... Okay, he didn't get a scout, because he was denied. I never bothered. I really wonder what that was for. What timing would that have been? It was like, did the Hellions have come in if it was like a one base? That's interesting, but okay. The Reaper now gets sent across the map. It's a little bit late, and there are 4 Marines waiting, trying to catch it. 1 Marine will not kill it in time. 2 Marines would have, but they're just a little bit too late to that stutter step. And the Reaper does get a scout. It'll see the starport being a little bit late, so GuMiho knows that it was a command center build. Would have been maybe a little bit questionable as to why it was a gasless expand, something we don't see in TvT too often, but MaSa seems to be enjoying this build in TvT and TvP. And maybe even wants to try some TvZ, I'm not sure. Why do I have a lonely gaming chair in the back? What are you talking about? The stool? I don't know. Because once upon a time, I had friends that came over to my house and then sat in my room. Now we go over to their apartment where they don't have parents. Adults. Banshee versus Defensive Viking. Guess which one usually wins. The scan going on from MaSa will also tell him it's going to be Cloak with Banshee. Now, this could be scary because GuMiho could be going for like a bust of some sort, get a lot of Banshees, not really commit to the harassment, but use them to actually bust the front. And there's nothing that's really going to decide that until you actually see the army moving out. But if he had seen the third base, he knew that wouldn't be an option at all, and wouldn't really have to be defensive at all himself, other than a couple of well-placed missile turrets and the Viking on patrol. But now that he doesn't know about the third base, he is going to fall behind in economy, especially since it's on location, so that's really nice for GuMiho. GuMiho is giving up Stim, however, Stim and combat shields, unless he goes for 2 racks at once, and then maybe he'll have combat shields around the same time. But that is yet to be determined. He still has not done any extra barracks. Not enough gas, or not enough minerals quite yet. Second Banshee, I believe that is. This is the first Banshee on the way. Let's see what she can do. I do believe the missiles are in the natural. There's certainly one in the main. Yep. So, shouldn't be able to do too much. Pick off like 1 or 2 SCVs. Yeah, not too much. There's a scan available, but you really want to ensure that you can get the Banshee killed. And as long as she's not killing anything else, then why waste the scan? But as she gets closer to these Marines... careful. Very careful. Yeah. MaSa being very conservative with the scans, interesting. Usually we see them just instantly scan and then not get the Banshee. Or if they get to get close to the Marines, at least they'll try. But he was very careful. Looks like MaSa's going to push out. He'll have Stim. He won't have +1, but he'll have Tankovacs, which are probably the most important thing. Oh, Stim. Well, Stim's also really important, but point is, he'll have a lot of ability to harass and tear down units. Whereas without Medivacs, GuMiho has only these tanks that just stay in one place, like there's some type of weird thing that roots the ground and can't be picked up. If you all know, tanks aren't that. But these Vikings would actually be able to contest these medevac drops. So MaSa has to be very careful. This is the downside of doing these 2 tank drops. They can do a lot of damage to the army and versus the SCVs, even versus buildings. But they cannot do anything about Vikings. So, that's what's awkward about it. Vikings are coming back over here too. They should be able to get at least one of these medevacs by chasing it down. Chase it, chase, 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 chase. Yeah, gets it. The other one, I guess, yeah, it should be able to get away. But you didn't really, I mean, ideally, they just have no Vikings at all, because who's really prioritizing Vikings nowadays in TvT? Only once every dozen games do we see it as a committal. Sometimes we see it, of course, like MaSa did, and that's a reaction to Banshees. You get a Viking, you get 2 Vikings maybe even, but as far as actually trying to take control of the air, I thought it might have been the #1 priority in Legacy of the Void when Tankovacs came in, but it seemed that everyone preferred just having more Tankovacs versus their opponent, so... You just would have hoped they didn't have any Vikings at all. Nothing at all. But now GuMiho has Vikings, he has his own Tankovacs, he has a couple of Banshees that can add a lot of damage, and he will eventually have Stim, but he will be behind on Combat Shields. And Combat Shields is potentially even more important. Stim, though, like, Stim gets you a lot of maneuverability, so you could argue that Stim's more offensive and Combat Shields is more defensive, but the point is, if you're ever going to have a direct engagement, if you're not moving around and chasing and retreating, then Combat Shields is going to be numero uno. Boobs. Santa Tower. This is not going to go that well, I feel. He saw 2 tanks and that's it, so I guess he was like, oh, this is great, I'm going to do so much, but he actually goes into 4 tanks with a bunker and 2 Banshees and all these Marines waiting to stim on an unsuspecting MaSa, as I do have that done. Combat Shields is not started, but even without it, it's just a small army from MaSa. I think GuMiho could push this back. He's not moving his Marines, though. 1 Center Tower did go down, so no longer the boobies. Oh, no. Third base is finally coming down for MaSa. As we talked about earlier, that it was the biggest thing about this game. It was GuMiho's lack of tech versus MaSa's lack of third command center. And MaSa would have hoped to have done something with his tech upgrades, but he hasn't. He's really done not a lot. And GuMiho should be taking a lead soon with a higher SCV count. It hasn't really shown in the army supply yet, but it's showing in the upgrades. He's getting 2-2 versus just MaSa's 1-1. And he should have a big burst of production soon, too. Alright, Numlock on. Whoopsie daisy. There we go, GuMiho has been winning for quite some time. Stim in, however, catches the 2 tanks a little bit too forward, but this is not all of GuMiho's army. The rest of it is in medevacs. Whoa! And here's a medevac too. That's a little bit odd. But the 3 tanks are going to be enough. Looks like MaSa, he didn't see the medevac, so he's thinking that there must be something on the high ground, which there was last time, so you can't blame him, and there's even still a little bit here. But he's being very careful pushing in, but he's about to be doom dropped. What the flip? When do you ever see this happen? So not doom dropped, but still, he's going to be pushed. One at a time, Marines. Marines, please! Don't go in one at a time. No! Okay, well that wasn't... I think that could have been a lot worse. Now, actually, MaSa might have a lead here. Okay, it's nothing but tanks versus nothing but Marines. I don't know how this is gonna go. It looks like MaSa's gonna be able to clean this up. Okay, goes better for MaSa. Officially, now. That was weird. I really feel like if GuMiho had just collected all of his Marines before sending into that tank, he would have been able to destroy it. Interesting engagement. But while the actual engagements worked out better for MaSa, who kept all of his tanks alive, and his economy wasn't really touched, the upgrades from GuMiho's early economic lead is going to be huge. A full 2 upgrades ahead in Marine battles is absolutely incredible. There's not a lot of Marines, so yeah, you can just pick up and lift and drop on these tanks. That's exactly what GuMiho does. Loses his own tanks for it. Oh, barely doesn't lose that last one. Should definitely repair that. Gets a couple of medevacs too. Oh, the rest are so low. Oh no. Oh, that Viking. Oh, that Viking is so good. Oh. Oh no. The last medevac even goes down. Didn't even have a tank with it. Oof, that's too bad. Now MaSa's army supply does dip down. He has better SCVs, but GuMiho had such an economic lead early that he's already kind of gotten a lot of benefit from it, you know? So even though he's catching up now, it was all about MaSa catching up in the first place, you know? That drop, actually, I didn't pay attention to the other drop that happened, and I don't know how much damage that did. That might have been what killed so many SCVs, but this drop, a double drop, tries to get even more SCVs. Gets the Viking, but oh no, he went back for the Marines. Oh, that split-second decision cost him both medevacs and all those Marines. That was pretty bad. GuMiho takes an even bigger lead in the army supply. MaSa's still going to try and get his own upgrades, but they're so far behind. Oh, no. And GuMiho, I think, should definitely find it in his bank to get at least +3 weapons and be really secure on that upgrade lead. But it's more... No, okay, he's just responding to this drop. 2 SCVs went down. 43 SCVs, still not bad for GuMiho, as they've mined out of their main. Starting them out of their natural a little bit. Looks like he was anticipating the drop in the natural, but actually went around. Actually died. There it is. This is still a pretty close game. I mean, those upgrades are really big. 20 army supply, pretty big, but it's all, you know, GuMiho defending right now. So MaSa is getting time to recover, and if he could get something here, if maybe he could get a 4th CC, or just simply lift this one, get his better SCV count up onto a new, fresh mining base, he'll certainly have the better production. Maybe like 2 tanks at a time as opposed to 1 could be really key here, but he's going to be behind those upgrades for still quite some time. +3 was kind of squeezed out from GuMiho. I think that's a good decision. And, well, now he's a little supply blocked. Oh... I've been catching all of GuMiho's mistakes, it feels. I feel bad as an observer. That was a huge... Oh my god, look how many supply calldowns there are. Oh my god, if you've ever felt bad being in, like, Gold League and the amount of supply depots that are double stacked, don't feel bad now. Look at this. Of course, it's been a very high-action game, so... Let's explain some of it. But 2-2 is almost finished up for MaSa. He could have an opportunity to actually fight this on an even upgrade field, which would be fantastic for him. You know, the +3 is just a little bit farther behind, so it really depends on the timing here. Defensive setup versus offensive one, but GuMiho could just go for this little ridge right here. The Senator sees that, and MaSa realizes it may be a little bit too late. He's going to try and sim in to stop it from happening. He holds off on it for a while to set up his own tanks, but he sets them up in range of the tanks, so it was a little dangerous. But that was really key. Like, if they get over here and they drop over here, you cannot really bust that. And as hard as you try, you have to have units already in position to stop it. He's gonna sim in 1 or 2 tanks. Unfortunately, we're not able to fire before they just went down to the massive amount of Marines. Part of his army is up on the high ground, and GuMiho takes advantage of the split army of MaSa and just steamrolls. Upgrades be damned, didn't even matter. He had even upgrades at that point. Oh, the tank upgrade was a little late, but still. GuMiho just wrecks that army. We're gonna go into game number 2. I did call GuMiho taking this 3-1, but I believe MaSa will get a game. I do. Winners match, so we only have one more series after this. That'll be the decider. Bly is waiting there. Unfortunately, it's something like 4 or 5 a.m. where he is, so I don't know if he's trying to nap, and maybe he told someone to text him to wake up, but damn, it's late for him. Best of 5. In the top right, he's up 1-0. Is the Blue Terran GuMiho. That rhymed. Nailed it. In the bottom left, as the Red Terran, he's MaSa. Yeah, once again, if you guys don't know, Rifkin is muted, as usual, so I'm just filling up all the dead silence that there would have been. Now, his power's out, the future looks uncertain, and we're really gonna have to see what we can do about tomorrow, but more importantly, the days after that. Round of 8. Semis and finals on that Monday. We did this originally because it was, well, first of all, we have a lot to do, so these are days that are open. But also, like, it would have been really hype to go through every single day, slowly building up to those finals, and have a big ol' grand final, best of 9 final, all dedicated to a single day. Would have been really hype. But unfortunately, with this power outage, it could be kind of halted a little bit here. We're gonna decide that at a later point, and I'll certainly keep you guys up to date. Tomorrow is still up in the air too. I would love to say that I'm totally ready to do it, and the will is... what is it? The mind is willing, but the body is not. What does Zap Brannigan say? I forget, but really, my wrist hurts and my throat hurts a little bit, so... ideally, the power just comes back, and all is saved, but we don't know when it's going to be up and ready to go for Rifkin. Command Center goes down for GuMiho, but MaSa is going to try one of his own one-base builds. Hey-ho, hey-ho, hey-no. We'll see what type it is. It does have 2 gases, should be going for a starport. And maybe Medevac and the Liberator. Just a good old one-fashion, one-base Banshee build feels really not popular right now. When you have the double Reaper Hellion attack, when you have Medevac into Liberator, I guess there's better options, but it's still a possibility. He doesn't have a reactor on his factory. He's not pre-building one on his racks. It's still gonna be those Hellions, so... what you do with this is that if they have a wall, you can actually still poke at the wall, and with grenades... excuse me. With grenades, you can actually stop them from stopping you, basically, unless they have a bunker or a lot of units. And if they're going for a CC build, then they're not going to have a ton of units. If they don't have a wall off, then what you do is you just, you know, go head first into the Marines and roast them up like a barbecue and say, ha ha ha, I win. Because walls are good. Walls are very good. For StarCraft, not in real life. Don't vote Trump. Hashtag. But it's going to be a Medevac, so we can see this actually reinforce the Reapers, or we could see, of course, a regular old drop. Either one will do very well. The if he had waited for both Hellions, even though there would have been 1 or 2 more Marines, I think that would have been better. So he loses a Hellion here. This one was coming up. Damn. I guess this was a Hellion coming up for GuMiho, so GuMiho wasn't being really, really greedy about this. So I guess even if he had waited, it wouldn't have done better. But that's what's scary, you know? Like, the grenades are really effective. If he may have been able to just simply blow past and get on top of the SCV line, and that would have been really bad. But the question right now is, does GuMiho anticipate a Medevac? The Liberator is definitely a common follow-up to this push. You either siege up the ramp, or you go behind and siege up the natural. But the Medevac is kind of a sometimes yes, sometimes no. So... we'll see. It is just going to support the Reapers, but there's 2 Hellions waiting for GuMiho. The Marines go down so damn quick, however. The Vikings going to take care of the Medevac. Obviously nothing to shoot up here for MaSa, but GuMiho's in a lot of trouble. He's pulling SCVs. He's going to try and save his last Hellion, but there's nothing else producing, just his 2 Marines on the way. Nothing else here. Maybe that missile turret will get the last hit on that Medevac as the Viking gave up and just went to the ground mode. It does get the last hit. Way to go, missile turret. And with the Viking and the 2 Marines, he'll have barely enough to stop this from snowballing. But 11 SCVs have already gone down, and that was the hit that MaSa was waiting for to catch him up in this game. He has a 3rd CC on the way. His 2nd one's not... oh, okay, just finished. But that was really nice. He is now up 10 workers. And he also, what's really cool too, is that he also took on a good chunk of his opponent's army. It wasn't just SCVs, and GuMiho was about to counterattack with a bigger and better army. No, they're an even army supply, so MaSa is just looking really good in this game now. Liberator does come in, kind of forgot about that even though I went over it, and it goes into the main, into the natural. There's not much to take it out. He knows that there's a Viking around. The Viking... okay, the Viking went off into Neverland to go find Peter Pan, and then came back. I guess it was trying to catch something in transits, but it was a little too late, so that was a little awkward. So 6 more SCVs go down. Now MaSa up 16 workers, 14 workers, as they're both building 2 at a time. He's supposed to be building 3 at a time, though, so GuMiho is quite the uphill battle, and I'm feeling it for MaSa, man. I told you he's gonna win at least 1 game. There it is, Gizmoja. The spirit is willing, but the body is bruised and squishy. The flesh is spongy and bruised. Is that the one? The flesh is weak. We have 3 different people saying 3 different things. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Liberator's just gonna go ahead and go home, because there's nothing really you can do against someone who has a Viking. He is gonna be trying to get air control, though, and this is really nice, because we have seen this once or twice, but it's really hard to find yourself in a situation where you are so far ahead you can actually get away with this. and that's going for air control to help out a Liberator, so the Liberator can actually siege up an army. Like, that usually doesn't happen. Usually you have too many Marines, your opponent has too many Marines, they just duck under, they kill it. It's just the Liberator, so it's really not that much to cover, but he has a Liberator plus Vikings plus a solid ground army, and is looking to probably just go right up that ramp. Now, there is a tank waiting, so he's got to be careful, but that's where the Liberator comes in, and that'll take care of that real quick, like. Now, he doesn't see this medevac drop, but production's not so bad for him. Tank and 2 Marines are already out. No missile turrets in sight. Going for double engineering bay. Being pretty greedy behind all that. He's going to go ahead and drop here. He doesn't have stim, so they can't exactly chase the SCVs too well, but he scans ahead. He sees that there's 2 tanks, and that's where the Liberator comes in. There's a Raven, however, target by the Liberator. Yeah, go, turrets. Auto turrets, that's your word. Auto turrets do so much damage so quickly. The old auto turrets would have died before killing that Liberator. He takes out the other Viking too, and now it's just air control, but air control is still very good in TvT. He'll always have that vision, but he does have a ramp to contest with, and that's where GuMiho is going to find his most solid defense. He has his own 3rd CC up and about ready to go. The SCVs, they did eventually go down despite being pulled, so 11 killed thanks to that 1 drop. A very good drop from GuMiho to catch up in this game. Now only down 6 workers. Is barely going to be able to get out alive with that medevac. He's barely holding on to the other side. His factory's starting to get shelled away at, but MaSa's not really enforcing, so this is not going to be a game over push, where it definitely could have been if that Liberator got what it wanted. More SCVs going down, just a single, like, it's 2 Marines and a medevac, but it is so important. MaSa's stim is about to finish, that's going to help him chase down these medevacs, or GuMiho's just not going to pay attention and lose it, because he's focusing on the other side. He's actually going to try and break this. He wasn't under too much pressure, so he could have waited a little bit longer, but he does end up breaking out. Medevac lost, 1 tank lost, this one almost died, but at least he took a couple of those Vikings with him. And now he can comfortably go to the 3rd base, where MaSa, of course, he scouted. MaSa was already on. He killed a couple SCVs over there. He's still down in army. He's still down in workers. He's going to be behind in upgrades as well, because MaSa went for double engineering bay. But GuMiho did start to bring this back. Combat shield's falling up for GuMiho. If he was able to find a fight with this... Nah, he's still down 11 army supply. I mean, an upgrade and a combat shield over your opponent, that could have been a lot. That could have been, you know, the concave too, and I think GuMiho definitely takes a very good fight, but he's not going to find one. And oh, perfect positioning from MaSa. Oh, absolutely beautiful. That was all of GuMiho's Marines. And Marines were always going to benefit from the damn combat shields and +1. Really nicely done by MaSa. Nice, well, map awareness, basically, to see that's coming, where GuMiho did not. And GuMiho, I think he's just gonna lose her, like, here, or maybe in a minute, but it's gonna happen. His upgrade lead is about to go out. His combat shields lead is about to go out. It's not that he has many Marines to utilize either one. Tanks are gonna start shelling away at his SCV line. Could have also maybe gotten on top of the barracks, but not so. Jesus said. Dropping the natural is going to be something that's GuMiho's going to have a really tough time defending, you know? He's going to be able to clean this up, but then what about this over here, and then what about this over here? He's just going to certainly get outnumbered soon enough. But he's doing a decent enough job right now. Loses 7 SCVs. Still losing a few more. Finally gets that tank. Hey, this nice micro is going on over here. That's fancy. This tank is not siege. These siege tanks aren't in position. MaSa doesn't have any siege tanks of his own. It's just going to drop. Probably going to go for a drop of the natural again? There is a potential for MaSa to get too overeager and honestly a little too fancy and start losing out on key units such as 2 medevacs, 2 tanks. He could try and stim in here and then maybe lose his medevacs, but the medevacs actually go on this little cliff edge where GuMiho is not anticipating it. He doesn't have a lot of units to respond. Up there, the Marines. They do have even upgrades. They have combat shields as well, and MaSa is going to actually lose this fight. The medevacs just abandoned the Marines to try and get out there alive. Might have been worth it, but you know, GuMiho was down 20 plus army supply. Now he's an even army supply. He's still down 8 workers. But this is looking better. MaSa, I think he got a little too fancy with the drops. He should have just committed to 1 attack point and maybe 1 drop. But he did drop, and then another drop, I guess. He actually never really directly pushed, so GuMiho is able to hold on just through good positioning of his units. Now, he is still going to fall behind in the late game, as his upgrades are still going to be behind. He's not going to have the tank upgrade at all, it looks like, but he's on his way to bringing it back. MaSa's got to be very careful with how he does this. He catches the drop in the middle of the map, that's nice. However, is he going to be able to respond if it just boosts past? I think he's anticipating this, as his tank's already sieged up, or picked up rather, and sieged up. Nothing at the natural other than a sensor tower, no missile turrets, so GuMiho maybe could have tried, got good positioning, but just going to go back home, and MaSa's Marine is going to see this. I really love the Marine placement on this map for both parties. They got Marines here, 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 oh, that's about a back drop, but here. But Vetrop's going to meet two Vikings. MaSa, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? That's a no, not quick enough anyway. And he loses another good chunk of units still up in that army supply, though, as his economy, of course, has been really helping this entire time. 2-2 starts for GuMiho. More Marines going to go down. They are just scouting. Main army fight could definitely go in favor of GuMiho still. Even if he has worse upgrades and 20 army supply down, tank evac drops, some people say they're completely random. I disagree. I think that you actually do have people who know how to use them absolutely correctly and will find a good position for them too. You still have people dropping tanks into other tanks, something you could do before they added the delay, but not anymore. Like, people actually do not have a complete grasp on this unit yet. And just right there, actually, MaSa had some pathing issues, but that's actually what I'm talking about. This was very dangerous from GuMiho to drop on top of pre-siege tanks, but he does take the better end of the deal. 2 tanks were shelling away at the gas geyser instead of the tanks that dropped, and he only loses 1 for 2. Nice trade, as he does need trades like those. Starts to get a little ahead in the army supply. His own upgrades, though, still a ways behind. And MaSa is taking, well, he's taking a new base. It's not his 4th. It's his main command center. A couple of Marines, cheeky Marines, getting a couple of SCV kills. Not many, however, but GuMiho is caught up in SCVs. He's actually got a 4th base. How did I not notice that? So, an actual 4th base that could turn to a planetary versus the, you know, fake 4th base. Ooh, you're fake. But he's gonna lose it! He wasn't in position! Oh no! And he even gets a cancel on the stupid planetary. That's not a good feeling. GuMiho would have gotten so... Like, that would have been such a nice position. You know, MaSa probably would be able to defend this one, and it would still be 4 base versus 4, or whatever you want to call it, 3 base mining, what have you. But to have a planetary there would have just been so comforting, as opposed to the orbital that's here now. We have a job going to the main base. Once again, GuMiho's supply dropped, supply depots. Who knew? 2-2's about to finish up for GuMiho, who was looking for a fight, but oh no. Oh, careful, careful, careful. MaSa does not have a very high tank count. If he does, it's not with his army. Here come 2 more. They're not pre-siege. There they go. Okay, there's 2 there. The drop is just going into the natural. There's nothing to defend against it. The Marines are like, where'd they go? Where'd they go? The Vikings come back as well. Upgrades are on the way. Eventually, GuMiho would have the lead here as he started both, but... Oh, MaSa's pushing in. GuMiho's not paying attention. GuMiho's not paying attention at all. He stims away, but only after losing a tank and a good amount of Marines. Once again, not a planetary. Actually, this could be a benefit, as he could choose to lift and give this up and just move elsewhere, but you don't really want to move elsewhere. You want to have as much mining as they do right now. Upgrades are even. Army supply is very, very close. GuMiho can do something with a good army engagement. He finds MaSa transporting or moving his units and takes an okay fight at the beginning, but the concave goes in favor of MaSa. The tank count, though, is actually the ones that are firing actually went heavily in favor of GuMiho, where MaSa, he was attacking, I think, a Marine over here or a Marine over here, and then one of the tanks is actually just too far away from the main engagement. So GuMiho does take the, you know, a little bit better of a fight, but it's still down in that army supply. The tank count being alive, though, is huge. The medevac count from MaSa actually contributing a lot to his overall supply, 10 to just the 5 of GuMiho. And this is still a very, very clutch game. MaSa certainly had the lead, and he might be kicking himself if he ends up losing this game, but GuMiho has been a good job bringing this back. He gets the high ground advantage with the tanks, and they shell away the tanks in the low ground of MaSa, who weren't pre-siege, so even though GuMiho had 2 tanks that were so low, they are still not being killed, and this is so damn important. He's starting to rally slowly with Marines. They're coming around the bend of the 3rd. He's denied MaSa's 4th base, rather, and those upgrades are still even. 2-2-1 for both parties. 3-3 is actually going to be a little bit farther ahead for GuMiho. Really surprising. Of course, his mining, both of their mining, is roughly the same right now, actually. The income has been a little bit up and down over the course of this game. Viking control could be important because be very careful not to lose them just willy-nilly. GuMiho is going to get that +2 vehicle weapons. He is, I mean, he's the one that's kind of mining okay now. He actually has a bank to afford those extra upgrades. He has the higher SCV counts. Things are looking really up for GuMiho. The biggest problem he had was initially lack of SCVs, but then the much further behind upgrades, but he's about to have 3-3. He stims in just before it finishes, however, but that tank count was pretty high. He takes on the low ground first, and then the high ground. SCVs were pulled into this for MaSa. That helped a little bit. No more medevacs for GuMiho as the last two are going to go down here. Maybe? Maybe? It's such a close fight. 3 tanks versus a tank, and I think like 2 Marines, but it's now just tank versus tank. More Marines, however, are stimmed forward. More Marines stimmed forward from GuMiho as well. I mean, that was... If he had waited for 3-3, I do wonder what that would have looked like. It has finished up by now, though, so he has 1 upgrade lead. He's rallying more Marines than MaSa is, and he's now taking a 40 supply lead. GuMiho has done it. GuMiho's won this game, and MaSa might just be kicking himself over this one. He had a lead, for sure, in that mid-game, in that early game. His own upgrades are finally finishing up, however, so at least he's going to be back to even footing, but even footing has actually been where GuMiho has been doing a lot better. That's been the problem. Even when he's behind 1 or 2 upgrades, he's been doing better. These engagements are just going better for GuMiho. He's going to stem in here without sieging his tanks, because actually just the unsieged one's going to be enough, and that's it. GuMiho takes a 2-0 despite being down in that early game. Really nicely done by GuMiho. Truly a great TvT player. He certainly has enough practice in the Lima League. MaSa still has another life, though, not just in this series, but overall. He could go on to face Bly, which would not be a rematch, so the curse would not be in effect. And in the bottom right, on Lerlac Crest, he is up 2-0. He is GuMiho. In the top left, as the Teal Terran, he is MaSa. Of course, the BaseTradeTV chat rules do have player bashing to a minimum. I really don't know why you would bash him, though. I mean, I know that some people are saying that he threw that game, and certainly he threw a little bit, but that wasn't a situation where he was both upgrades ahead, up 30 SCVs, and up 30 army supply. He was slightly ahead in upgrades, about half and half when it really came down to the important engagements, about 10 SCVs up, and about 10 to 20 army supply by every single time. I mean, certainly still a lead, and he threw that lead, but it wasn't like, I don't know, some of these exclamations in chat that should make it seem like MaSa was obviously going to win. GuMiho had chances everywhere, and he actually used them. MaSa did not play bad whatsoever, and I actually am commending him still from that play. Am I disappointed that he lost? Sure, and I'm sure he is. I'm sure he remembers each and every point that he took a bad engagement and said, oh, I should have done X over Y, but I thoroughly enjoyed that last game. And I think that if he gets the same type of lead, he'll be a lot better about not letting it slip away. He's going for the 1 base build again, but GuMiho... Oh, no, GuMiho is going to go for the command center. So, I said MaSa did so much damage, you know? It took a little bit longer than you would hope, but eventually he did get those worker kills. They did so well, he could get another lead. Maybe he should do it again, and I guess he did agree with that sentiment that he got enough damage done. GuMiho also didn't wall off last time, so hoping... maybe that's going to happen again, but GuMiho is actually walling off this time. This doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to push the push itself back, but it does help better. Like, there's not going to be any slip-aways when you're not paying attention. Excuse me. Going up to the factory. GuMiho, so he didn't have a wall-off, but very importantly, he did bother getting Hellions, as opposed to just being very greedy and maybe trying to get, like, advanced tech over units. Which he, you know, he may have had a tank over those 2 Hellions, but maybe it came a little bit later. Regardless, he actually got units in the early game. Because he has a wall, he might hold off on that and actually try and tech a little harder. So it'd be kind of like, last time I had one, but not the other. This time I have the other one, but not the other one. Or maybe he'll do both again, and it looks like, well, we'll see in a second, I suppose. It's the same thing from MaSa. It is the same thing from GuMiho. He's going to go for his own Hellions, so he'll have enough units to probably combat this. And the very worst scenario, he could pull the SCVs. It's a little dance. Must be fun. Just be able to dance. Liberator immediately following this up, so it is a little different than the last time. No medevac. Medevac did really help. It was part of the push that ended up doing the damage, and if it had survived, I wonder how much more damage you could have done, because it did die to a single missile turret that was just oddly timed. Reaper of GuMiho is going to go down into the Hellions. It got a scout on what the deal was. You know, seeing that many Hellions that early on, you know they went for a 1 base. But it was also potentially very important Reaper to lose. Now GuMiho is going to try his best to keep his natural alive. Might not be the right decision, we'll see, though. GuMiho is going to have a medevac out, maybe just in the nick of time. Cyclone's going to be a little late. But his other option was to play it a lot safer and pull the SCVs and just let the command center take a bit of heat before pushing down. But he's going to try and take a concave engagement. Grenade's gonna go down, but the grenade's gonna miss. He just missed. He just moved forward, and oh my god, made MaSa look terrible. Oh my god, I've never seen a single step forward do so much. But that was a perfect defense. Now part of that was MaSa was not anticipating seeing those units on the natural ramp for sure, but damn, that was a good hold. And now MaSa is in a severe deficit. Actually ends up getting a couple SCVs, oddly enough. These are the Reapers. The Liberator in the back, I believe it was, because he went for that first to get a couple more SCV kills, but combined get a total of 6, but he's going to deal with his own drop. There's a single Reaper. The grenade actually bounces him into the surround of the SCVs, so that ended up being pretty nice. Sea Chick was on its way, same with the Raven, could have auto turret just to help out, so wasn't ever going to be game ending, but GuMiho now has an army supply lead and a little bit ahead in that SCV counts, and it's, well, it's working out a lot better than GuMiho was at this stage in the last time. But MaSa could still bring this back with his own good defense. GuMiho really brought that last game back one little drop, one little edge at a time. MaSa has the same opportunity, but a Cyclone lock onto his tank. Ooh, jeez, it just barely gets it with that last shot. And if he has to lift his command center, that is so much extra damage. It is so much extra damage. Maybe he doesn't want to actually... Yeah, I don't know about landing that Viking. It's questionable because the Cyclone can get the lock on either way, but at least he would have guaranteed the kill on the Viking a little bit sooner and maybe be able to escape from the Cyclone. But he did what he did, and he is still going to be able to clean this up eventually. Oh, maybe not. GuMiho's trying to rally. It's a good thing this is cross position as far away as you can on Lair that crest, but he has to lift his command center. Oh, lift your command center! Oh, lift your command center! It's gonna go down now. I think that was 1-2 tank shots too many. It's game over. No, that's game. Oh no. Wow. GG. Damn. After such an epic game 2, to have MaSa just, well, get slapped in the face first of all, but then stumble forward afterwards. That is too bad. But GuMiho takes the series 3-0. Congratulations to him. And MaSa will go on to face Bly now.